It's day 4 of 2026 NFL free agency, and we have some more breaking news to get to. This one was so easy to predict. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And that breaking news for the Niners, they have made another signing, and it's a reunion. San Francisco bringing back linebacker Dre Greenlaw. Ian Rappaport breaking the news just moments ago on this Thursday afternoon that the Niners are signing back one of their former stars. They've agreed to terms with linebacker Dre Greenlaw. The former Niners draft pick spent last year with the Denver Broncos now returns on a one-year, $7.5 million contract. And we've discussed this plenty here on the show that outside of Fred Warner, still one of the best overall players, one of the best defensive players, the best linebacker in football going into 2026, and he's going to be fine coming off that ankle injury. The Niners do have question marks at the linebacker position. D. Winters makes some splash plays. He'll make you say, wow. He'll also make you say, oh no. Had the pick 6 off of Phillip Rivers in primetime. He will hit you. Led the team in tackles in 2025, but sometimes he lacks the necessary feel and ability to diagnose plays that sometimes you need at that linebacker spot. Nick Martin. I liked him as a player at Oklahoma State. A little bit undersized, was injured in 2024, but he, like D. Winter, sometimes plays overly aggressive. The game needs to slow down for him a little bit. We saw in the preseason that he has so much ability. But then we saw at moments that he can get beat and he can have some lapses. He's going into year 2. There's also question marks about his health. He suffered that concussion on a special teams play against the Cleveland Browns and did not pass concussion protocol. And then elsewhere, Tatum Bethune, probably more of a special teamer. The drop-off from Warner to him was pretty sizable. Just isn't that great of an athlete. And the Niners in free agency did bring back Garrett Wallow, who was a wild card hero against the Philadelphia Eagles, but he kind of is who he is, right? And so I think right now, without making any other moves, the Niners are going to run it back with their starting linebackers in 2026 being Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. Of course, there are always major concerns about Dre Greenlaw's ability to stay healthy. He was drafted by the 49ers in the 2019 draft. That was the year that they made it to the Super Bowl and lost to Kansas City the first time in the 5th round out of Arkansas. Solid pick for the Niners at that point in the draft. They've hit on some selections in the 5th round. Can he stay on the field for the Niners this year? The MO on him throughout his entire career, he's rarely been able to stay healthy. Year 1, 16 games, 11 starts, as you look at his numbers here to my right. Year 2, 13 games, 11 starts. In 2021, 3 games, 2 starts. 2022, 15 games, 15 starts. 2023, 15 games, 15 starts. Tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl, and man, that was salt to the wound because the Niners were playing so well up until that point. He was doing such a tremendous job in defending Travis Kelce, who I don't think had a catch up until that point in the game. And then with Oren Burks, he was targeted 9 times and caught 9 balls. And then he comes off that torn Achilles, plays 2 games for the Niners during that maddening 2024 season, but couldn't stay on the field because that calf and that Achilles acted up again. Then he got that huge deal with the Denver Broncos. He got more than $20 million in guaranteed money, only played 8 games and 7 starts. So the last 2 seasons combined, he has played only 10 games with 9 starts. And now, 3 times over the last 5 seasons, he has played 8 or fewer games. When he was playing for one of the best defenses last year in the Denver Broncos, he fared very well, graded out very well. Overall PFF grade, 74.8. 19th among 88 linebackers. Run defense grade, 82.3, 13th at the position. Coverage grade, 67.1, 19th at the position. He's always going to hit you hard. He's going to play fast and physical. He is going to bring this Niners defense a swagger that is hard to match. And he is a very sure-handed tackler. Only missed 4 tackles for Denver last year. That was 2nd at the position as far as being the 2nd best mark. The issue, though, again, the 324 snaps, which ranked 83rd. You know he can play in the 4-3. You know how he plays alongside Fred Warner. There is risk here for sure. $7.5 million really isn't that much. And if he can stay on the field, and if he can play really well, this could be a steal for San Francisco. But obviously with his injury history and the Niners' problematic injury patterns, it's a little bit concerning. Still to come here on the 49ers Report, we have a loaded show. I like what the Niners are doing this offseason. More thoughts on the Osa Odighizuwa trade. We're going to go through some numbers that go to show you how good of a player he is. Mike Evans officially signed his contract today. He spoke. Why did he join the Niners? Spoke very highly of Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, this Niners team as a whole, and this offense. And we've got a funny Brandon Aiyuk story. But first, Dub City gear. It's available right now. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, Fred Warner now teaming back up with Dre Greenlaw, throwing it back. Get your Dub City shirts right now. Dub City. You can get this red one available at chatsports.com/Dub City. We also have a black hoodie with this logo, a little bit of a different alteration on the left pec. Also in this video, it was so funny because we got done recording it, and in the video, you'll see at the end, I was talking about how I was warming up to the idea of the Niners signing Dre Greenlaw, that I was advocating for them to make that move if the price made sense. I got off this microphone, stepped away from the camera, boom, Ian Rappaport with that report that the Niners are signing Dre Greenlaw. So a loaded show. Don't go anywhere. If you want to be informed, this show and this channel is for you. And with that, we'll play the rest. Hold on. Before we get to the rest of the show, more breaking Niners news, and this one comes as a shock. Bryce Huff, 49ers defensive end, who they traded for in that deal with the Philadelphia Eagles prior to the 2025 season, after his career with Philadelphia didn't work out. He was a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. He got $30+ million in guaranteed money prior to that. Played and developed really well under Robert Saleh. Just announced on his Instagram that he is retiring from the game of football. So Bryce Huff will not be a part of the Niners' plans in 2026. And this one comes out of nowhere. Bryce Huff is 27 years old. And I thought last year, especially in that NASCAR package when he was opposite of Nick Bosa at the pass rusher spot, he was a great Robin to the Batman that is Nick Bosa. And he played really well as a speed rusher for San Francisco. A few weeks ago, kind of notable here from a salary cap standpoint, I had listed Bryce Huff as a cap casualty and a potential cut candidate because the Niners would be able to save a decent amount of money on the cap for the next 2 years. That now goes into effect. The 49ers will save $5.392 million in 2026 and $11.7 million in 2027 with Bryce Huff retiring. And I wish him the best. Had an opportunity to talk to him at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and it didn't work out, obviously, when he was with the Eagles, but with the Jets, he really flashed. With the Niners last year, he played really well when the Niners actually had some legitimate NFL players at the pass rusher spot and along that defensive line when they were actually healthy. And I was looking forward to seeing Bryce Huff with this defensive alignment next season under Raheem Morris, especially with the acquisition of Osa Odighizuwa, because on base downs, I was intrigued by, and still am for this matter, Nick Bosa, Osa Odighizuwa, Alfred Collins, and Mykel Williams on base downs. On passing downs, this is when Bryce Huff can pin his ears back and he can use that explosive get off and speed to get after the quarterback. He was going to be a part of the pass rushing rotation if the Niners didn't want to move on. It would have been Nick Bosa at defensive end, Osa Odighizuwa, Mykel Williams at defensive tackle because he's good at rushing the passer on obvious pass downs, sliding to the interior, and then Bryce Huff on that other side. Osa Odighizuwa is a 3-tech. He's also a 3-down defensive tackle, so he's going to be in the mix there as a really good pass rusher, also a good run defender. Bryce Huff's lone season with the 49ers goes down as a solid one. As I was talking about, he had 4 sacks. All of them came within the first 2 months of the year. Then he had a little bit of a sack drought after that. He also added 15 quarterback hits. And in looking at some of the Pro Football Focus numbers, he graded out pretty well in a couple of areas here. Overall grade 69.2, 46th at the position. His pass rush grade 74.3, 27th at edge. That's starting caliber right there. Never been a great run defender, but he wasn't awful there. And then he also added 29 hurries. That was 34th. 11 quarterback hits. That was 24th. 45 pressures. That was 38th. So a good rotational player at that pass rusher spot has decided to retire from the National Football League. Dre Greenlaw signing with the Niners. Bryce Huff retiring from the 49ers. We still got to talk about Osa Odighizuwa, Mike Evans, Brandon Aiyuk. Now that's all coming up here on the 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Thanks for hanging out here with me. And let's get this show started off on a positive note. I really like what the 49ers are doing this offseason. The Mike Evans deal is a very team-friendly deal for one of the best and most productive wide receivers in the history of football. And I know that a lot of people are going to read it as a 3-year contract. He got $16 million in guaranteed money. It's pretty much a 1-year deal. It really doesn't handicap the Niners much. And if he can stay on the field, he's the perfect wide receiver for Kyle Shanahan's offense and a perfect complement for Brock Purdy. The 49ers last year, dead last in the NFL in sacks. Their defensive tackle group had 4.5 sacks all season long. They badly needed a pass rusher from the interior. They got one of the best in the game in Osa Odighizuwa. They brought back Jake Tonches on a very affordable 2-year contract as a restricted free agent. He's a really good and gifted tight end too. Offensive line depth has been addressed with Vidarian Lowe and Brett Toth, who can play center and guard. And the kicking game solidified. Eddie Pinheiro was dinero, money last year. And the Niners are able to have some special teams continuity as well for a unit that drastically improved in 2025. And let's talk more about the Osa Odighizuwa trade. So often we do these breaking news videos and it's an instant reaction, and I love doing them. But what I also really like to do is after that video goes out, how about we do some film study? We do some deep dive analysis. And we really dig deep to give you the best content possible. And so with that, just some more notes and thoughts that I have on Osa Odighizuwa becoming a Niner yesterday. In case you missed it, San Francisco trading away their 3rd-round pick this year to the Dallas Cowboys. And a lot of you might be wondering, Chase, why would the Cowboys trade Osa to the Niners considering their rivalry? I'm going to talk about that as well. This Osa Odighizuwa trade, great move for San Francisco. And I love it on top of what the Niners did with Mike Evans, because both those players are well accomplished. Both those players are two of the better players at their position, and they fulfill really big needs on this Niners ball club. Odighizuwa, since coming into the league 5 years ago, has been one of the most disruptive interior defensive linemen in the NFL. And I talked about this yesterday in the breaking news video. He's also been very durable. He's missed 1 game in his 5-year career. The 49ers, as we've talked about plenty here on the program, were dead last in the National Football League in sacks in 2025. Among the 32 teams, no teams had fewer sacks. Not a sustainable way to play football in 2025. And 4.5 of the sacks that the Niners compiled a year ago came from their defensive tackles. Osa Odighizuwa had 3.5 himself. And we'll talk about the lack of gaudy sack numbers coming up here in just a moment. I also like the familiarity that Osa has with this Niners coaching staff now. And I think that Raheem Morris is really going to like this addition. I also think that Odighizuwa, alongside some of the players on this defensive line, under defensive line coach Chris Kocurek, could have a tremendous 2026 season. Plus, he knows the new assistant head coach of the defense in Matt Eberflus. And it's not like Eberflus has been hired as the Niners DC. He's an assistant, but he knows how to maximize the strengths of Odighizuwa. And Osa had a really good year last year. In fact, in some categories, he was better than Quinnen Williams. Also, everything that I have heard about Odighizuwa, he's a next level dude. The Niners really value culture as an organization. And in Mike Evans, consummate pro. he's going to be a really good presence in that young wide receiver room for the Niners. For Odighizuwa, he's with Alfred Collins going into year 2. CJ West going into year 2. Perhaps another rookie that the Niners could draft at defensive tackle. And Odighizuwa has been also a consummate pro, and he's a really good leader. And the Niners really value those types of guys who play hard, who care about the game, but are good people. I also like how he has a wrestling background. And when I scout offensive linemen in the pre-draft, defensive linemen in the pre-draft, I always love linemen, regardless of what side of the ball it's on, that have a wrestling background, because it requires really good footwork, hand usage. It's a violent mentality that wrestlers have, which translates to football. The hand-eye coordination is also really good. You learn to be really good on your feet. You also have to be really disciplined with your nutrition and your training regimen. And can you imagine hopping onto the wrestling mat in high school and you're staring down at a Osa Odighizuwa type of guy? That's scary. And a question that I want to answer here that I've seen a lot of people have in the comment section, and I've responded to some people, but I can't respond to them all because we're giving you so much content. Chase, why would the Dallas Cowboys trade Osa Odighizuwa to the Niners, considering the rivalry that Dallas and the Niners have? They're also going to be playing each other in 2026 at AT&T Stadium. Couple of things. The Cowboys have a logjam at defensive tackle. They traded for Kenny Clark in the Micah Parsons deal. They also traded for Quinnen Williams in the lead up to the NFL trade deadline. And while those three players played together and played well as a trifecta last year under Matt Eberflus, they are changing their defensive scheme. Matt Eberflus out, now joining the Niners coaching staff. Christian Parker in. Christian Parker is a Vic Fangio disciple. The Cowboys aren't going to be running a 4-3 any longer. They're going to be running a 3-4 base defense, and Osa Odighizuwa is a better scheme fit in a 4-3 compared to a 3-4, plus Dallas is moving forward with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark. And how about these numbers the last 2 years for Double O? I made up that nickname. Let's roll with it. Osa Bosa shirts might be on the way too. His pressures in 2025, he had 52 of them. That ranked 6th among 134 interior defensive linemen. His quarterback hits, 20. That ranks 2nd at the position. He also added 29 hurries to that. That's 19th in the league. In 2024, that's how he earned that payday. 60 pressures, 3rd among 132 defensive tackles. He had 14 quarterback hits. That was 4th, and his 39 quarterback hurries, ranking 12th among all players at defensive tackle. Furthermore, let's answer the sack question for a lot of people. It is not the end-all, be-all, especially at defensive tackle. And stop analyzing the game of football in a very casual way. And I've said this for years, even prior to me having this platform working at Chat Sports, when I was working in television and I was doing my own website, podcast, YouTube channel, trying to get to this point where we're reaching millions of people every single month. Sacks for a defensive lineman kind of looked at, in my opinion, like wins and losses for a pitcher. It doesn't tell the full story. What's the whip? What's the ERA? What's the strikeouts per 9? What is the contact ratio? Just because a player isn't sacking the quarterback doesn't mean that they're not a disruptive player. Of course, everybody wants to finish, pause. But if Osa Odighizuwa is also providing constant pressure from the interior, that's really important as well. And so people need to stop looking at just sacks to determine if a player is a quality player or not. It's not the end-all, be-all, especially at defensive tackle when double teams happen so often. Osa has generated 32 pressures when double teamed since 2024. That is 2nd in the NFL. His 9.1% pressure rate, 3rd best during that stretch. But he doesn't have sacks. Doesn't mean that he's not making his impact be felt. And then how about the financials here? Some people don't like that the Niners have given up a 3rd-round pick. I get it, but this is still a young player on a cost-friendly deal. Another reason why I like this Niners trade for Osa, if he was a free agent, I'm telling you right now, in this market, he'd be far more expensive to sign compared to the current contract that he's on. The Cowboys already gave him a $20 million signing bonus, and his cap hit in 2026, $16.75 million. It's $20.5 million in 2026 and 2027. If he plays the next 2 years like he's played throughout his career, that is an awesome number for a high-end defensive tackle. Shoot, Jordan Davis isn't the player that Osa Odighizuwa is, at least not yet. Milton Williams on top of Jordan Davis. They both got $26 million per year. Osa is entering year 2 of a 4-year, $80 million contract. And let me hit you with this question. Would the Niners get a better player than Osa Odighizuwa with a third-round pick? Yeah, they got Fred Warner in the 3rd round. That's very rare. Point here being, Osa for a third, good value with the impact, the scheme fit, the player that he is. And I'm fine with the Niners giving up that 3rd-round pick. Before we continue to push forward on today's show, do it now. Hit that subscribe button right here on the 49ers Report. Come on, scroll on down. Hit that sub button. Make the color change. We just got over 193,000 subscribers right here on the show. Really appreciate all of the support that everybody has given us. And here on the 49ers Report, we're giving you nonstop Niners coverage every single day year-round. And we always want to be informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking. We want you to have a voice, so join the movement as we close in on 200,000 subscribers. Today's 49ers Report is sponsored by our friends at PrizePicks. Get $50 when you play $5 on America's #1 fantasy sports app and join the millions of users. Sign up today. Shoot your shot on PrizePicks. Get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. I'm not lying to the people. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. PrizePicks is very simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and get in on the action. It's now available in all 50 states, all across America, and on PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose FlexPlay, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. Here's a 3-pick lineup for everybody, and you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. That is the Magic City special. If you've been to Magic City, give me some double M's in the chat. Chip frequented that place when he went to Clemson. We're going to go more than a half point. The normal number, 22.5. Easy money right there. Jalen Johnson just needs a bucket. RJ Godfrey, that's one of Chip's guys too, more than 21.5. And then AJ Debance, the stud out of BYU, more than 25.5 points. There you go. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, let's move forward here with another topic on the show. New 49ers wide receiver Mike Evans. It is official. Officially signed his contract with the Niners today. Great photo with his family on hand as well. And I've continued to say this. I really like this move for the Niners and for Mike Evans. And I'll explain why here. A big question. Mike Evans played 12 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why did he not return to Tampa? Why has he decided to go elsewhere? Why did he sign with the Niners? He said, when I watched the Niners last year, I thought that they were one piece away from winning a Super Bowl. And I think I'm that piece to help get them over the top. Another option for Evans in free agency when he was canvassing the market, the Buffalo Bills. He looked at Buffalo. He looked at the Niners as teams that needed a #1 wide receiver that had a franchise quarterback in place. High praise for Brock Purdy in that same sentence as Josh Allen. And Evans added it was a no-brainer for him to sign with the Niners after he spoke with Kyle Shanahan on the phone. He's always been a fan of the offense. He is a big fan of how Kyle Shanahan designs plays, and he really likes his fit inside this scheme as a classic traditional X wide receiver. And the 49ers fit Mike Evans's 4 criteria. Prior to him hitting the open market for free agency, there were 4 boxes that he wanted to check off for his next team. whether it be Tampa, whether it be another team, and obviously that team now is the 49ers. He wanted a chance to win a Super Bowl. The Niners next year, according to the betting odds at the very least, are going to be Super Bowl contenders. He wanted to play for a really good offensive mind and play caller. Kyle Shanahan is that. He wanted to team up with an elite quarterback, which could lead to big production. He's got that in Brock Purdy, very complimentary of him today. And then lastly, he wanted volume touches. As long as Mike Evans stays healthy, he's going to get touches. I think he puts up big numbers. I think Kyle Shanahan can do wonders for him at this stage of his career. He's 6'5". He can go up and get it. He runs pretty well. Good with contested catches. Has anything to his route tree. He's very physical. He tracks it well. He's a student of the game. And that's why he's the only player in NFL history to begin his career with 11 straight seasons of more than 1,000 yards. As for Dre Greenlaw, we do have a new Dre Greenlaw update. He has officially been released by the Denver Broncos as a post-June 1 designation this offseason. The Niners do need to figure out the linebacker spot outside of Fred Warner, who is still the best linebacker in the game. And I know that I want the Niners to get healthy. I know that I want the Niners to get younger. But if the Niners have an opportunity to sign Dre Greenlaw at a very affordable deal and rate, I'm warming up to the idea. I know that Dre Greenlaw has been injured pretty much his entire career, but when he's on the field, he's one of the most productive linebackers and one of the best players at that position in the National Football League. Now, he only played 324 snaps for the Denver Broncos in 2025. They had a top 5 defense, and that ranked 83rd at the linebacker spot. It's still an issue that Greenlaw is fragile and can't stay on the field consistently. But when he was on the field, had an overall PFF grade of 74.8, that ranked 19th among 88 linebackers last year. His run defense grade, he's always been elite at that, 82.3. That ranked 13th at the position. His coverage grade, really solid at 67.1. That was 19th in the NFL. And he's very consistent with making plays and making tackles. He only missed 4 tackles last year. The second best mark among all backers last year. He brings violence, physicality, speed to this Niners team. If they were to go this route, they wouldn't have to break the bank for Dre Greenlaw. You know how he fits alongside Fred Warner. And it's important to draft and develop at that spot. You've got Nick Martin waiting in the wings. D. Winters is under contract once again. You've got some affordable fallback options. But Greenlaw and Warner manning the middle for this Niners defense in 2026, I'm certainly warming up to the idea. As far as the Brandon Aiyuk comedy, I went on Google today, and in my Google search, I searched Brandon Aiyuk PFF, short for Pro Football Focus. And I saw that the link had Brandon Aiyuk already on the Washington Commanders. So I clicked that link to see if my eyes weren't tripping and lying to me. And this is what popped up. Pro Football Focus, as Brandon Aiyuk right now is a Niner. They have not released him yet. Is already listed as a Washington Commander on Pro Football Focus. The worst kept secret in the National Football League. Don't forget to give me a follow on social media. I'm on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Chase_Senior. You can find me on Facebook, Chase Senior Chat Sports. Subscribe to my brand new football show. It's The Chase Down right here on YouTube.